for promoting deaf awareness, both through the written word and the large and small screen. My first guest appeared on See Here over 10 years ago. He's had a busy and varied career, starting as a farmer with a small holding in Kent. Now in his 70s, he's put pen to paper and written a fascinating autobiography. The book is called It's No Joke Being Deaf, which has just recently been published. Now, ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome Michael Jack. Sir. Okay? Good. Right, Michael. Your book, It's No Joke Being Deaf. Absolutely fascinating. I really enjoyed reading it. You talk about your childhood and the fact that you went to a hearing school. Can you give us a brief account of that?
About the problem at school? Well, I think the chief trouble at school is that schoolboys are very cruel. And if you're deaf, or if you've only got one leg, or a couple of fingers missing, or like one boy, he had a rubber knee and a glass eye, and people made fun of him, and people used to make fun of me for being deaf. I remember that chap with the glass eye once in the middle of class, and he took it out and held it up, and we all shrieked and groaned, and the master came in and said, "Put that eye back at once, Thompson," which he did. But we got terribly dragged by everybody, and it was the same at prep school and at public school. I was, I think, the only deaf person, maybe two deaf people at school. So you become the butt of any joke. Can you hear me? Can you hear what I'm saying? That sort of thing. So it was rather traumatic.
Yeah. But you've had an exceptionally varied working life. You're a farmer. What aspect of your work has given you most pleasure or fulfillment?
I think the most fulfilling thing is doing a job and seeing the result of what you've done. For example, you cut a churchyard, and you cut the churchyard, mow up and down, and when you've finished, there's a lovely tidy churchyard. Or you cut a lawn for some old lady of 90. It takes you about a quarter of an hour, and afterward you have tea with her. It takes another 20 minutes. And you've not only cut her grass, but you've made her happy. You've kept her company, and it's a kind of social service very often. So that is very fulfilling.
Another interesting hobby that you mention in the book, dowsing. Now, I know the instrument that you use, and also the pendulum. And it's used for locating water underground. Can you tell us about that? Tell us how you know it's there.
First of all, you take a wire coat hanger, and you cut it in half, and and you hold them out like this. When you get a reaction, they may cross over, or on the other hand, they may go out. For example, I lost my secateurs once and couldn't find them, so I took my rods and walked up the garden path. When I got to the van, one rod went out like that. So I looked in the van, and there were the secateurs. They turned up. That's one thing. You can also use the pendulum.
Ah, there it is.
Now this could tell you whether you and I are compatible. If we're compatible, it would go like this. If we're not, it would go that way, you see?
It's amazing.
So I do it have in my own hand, and it goes like that. Now put your hand underneath. So it means you and I are compatible.
Oh, well, that's great then. That's great.
Yes, you try it. See if it's good. Bring it over your hand, give it a yes, see what happens. Yes, it's turning. Now, I get that. You see, it is much faster. Really fast.
Yes, yeah.
So I am giving you a bit of power. And also, of course, you could, if you're taking a girl out for dinner, or if you want to marry her, you swing a pendulum over her. And if it goes like that, don't ask her out, and don't marry her, for God's sake.
Okay. Right, okay. I'll have... No, who shall I choose from the audience? Let's have a look. No, only joking. Okay, we haven't got the time.
Okay, so, now that you've finished this book, what are your plans for the future?
Well, the funny thing is, when I started writing this, I couldn't remember my childhood at all. I couldn't remember anything. And then after about 6 months, it all began to come back into my mind. And so I had perhaps 50 pages, and I'd have to put pages 5A, 5B, 5C, 5D, 5E, and 56A, 56B, 56C, and so on, and got a lot of more of my childhood. Well, now, of course, a lot of things keep coming back to mind. So there's a possibility of writing another book, but it's damned hard work doing it on a typewriter, because I keep making mistakes. And then you've got to top them all out and do it all over again. I'd like to have a word processor, but honestly, only once my son in Holland, the anaesthetist, said, write a letter on my word processor to Uncle Philip. So I wrote a letter to Uncle Philip, and Nigel said the letter will now be typed out. And what did we get? We didn't. We got a letter which Nigel had written to me 2 years before. And we never found my letter that I'd written at all. He said, of course, that I'd messed the whole thing up. So I decided not to have a word processor.
Oh well. Anyway, I think it would be a good idea for you to write again. Put some more ideas down on the page for another book. Anyway, a big hand, please, for Michael Jack. My next guest has a part in the box office success from the United States. The film is called 4 Weddings and a Funeral. The film is now on general release here. It's a radical comedy which takes place entirely at 4 weddings and a funeral. It tells the story of Charles, who has a string of girlfriends, but is very reluctant to commit himself to marriage. Charles's brother is deaf, and they use sign language to communicate with each other. At this wedding, it is time for a few home truths.
Therefore, if any man can show any just cause why they may not lawfully be joined together, let him speak now, or else hereafter forever hold his peace. I'm sorry, does someone have something to say?
He wants me to translate what he's saying.
What is he saying?
He says, I suspect the groom is having doubts. I suspect the groom would like to delay. I suspect the groom.
What's he saying?
He says he suspects the groom loves someone else.
Please welcome David Bauer. Right. Well, I really enjoyed the film, and it's been a runaway success. How did you find the experience working in the film?
It's good. I really enjoy working on films. I've been acting for a few years. I try to stay calm about working on the film, try to understand the script, get into the character, and just enjoy the work. And it was okay. I could understand most what was said. It was very clear communication.
So, how difficult did you find your part, playing Charles's brother? Did you identify in any way with the character you portrayed? Were you able to do that?
Well, my character, his name is David. It's the same name, but it's different from me. He's more stiff and more relaxed. So it's a different way of life from what I know. And I feel ashamed. I like the character because he's strong and he's positive, and there's no negativity. I'm deaf. That's fine. I'm happy with that.
So, was that your first major role in a film?
Yes, like that. But I have worked in student films before, and I've done some television work. I've done Casualties, and that was on last February. We worked on that last year. But that's different as well. Similar.
Tell me more about it.
Well, the communication again was very clear. We had the same interpreter, Vicky, and so it was very easy to understand the director. The director understand that well.
Well, now you've been involved in a very successful film. You've also been in Casualty on television, in theatre. So do you have any other plans for the future for work?
At the moment, I'm going to be working with some children up in North Wales, teaching them acting and mime and movement. And but I'm just waiting. There's things in the pipeline, but I'm just waiting to see what happens.
Characters scripted into plays. For example, deaf characters are often performed by hearing actors. So hearing actors play deaf parts. That's what's happened in the past in television and film. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that when directing, there's a lot of challenges there to be had. That if you can play a part of different sorts of people, that it's a challenge. But there's a lot of people who are looking for work. A lot of really trained professional deaf actors, disabled actors that. And then if a hearing person plays the part, you think, well, they could have had this person to play the part. Why not?
Absolutely.
It's more representative of society, and it's true.
That's true. So, best of luck in the future in your acting career in television and film. Thank you, David Bauer. Now, my next guest has been a star of the small screen for the last 15 years. He, more than anybody, is responsible for raising deaf awareness on television. He is known throughout the deaf world, but is also recognised by Princess Di and Paul McCartney.
Who are you?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley. You don't believe in me?
No. No, I don't. And as far as I'm concerned, you could be the result of an upset stomach. There are no such things as ghosts. Bah, I don't believe in you. There's more of gravy than a grave in you.
Don't open the door. Think of what you might see. The paw. Where's the monkey's paw?
John, the top boat's stuck. I can't move it. Come and help, quick.
The paw. Where did it fall? There's a wish left.
Ah, it's moving. It's moving.
God forbid! I wish him dead! I wish him dead and at peace!
Welcome, please, John Lee. Okay, John? Right. I have always waited to interview you. I know you hate it. You just like interpreting, but here you are in the hot seat. Now, I'm sure everyone who's watching is wondering why you're recognised by Princess Di and Paul McCartney. Enlighten us.
Well, first of all, let me tell you about Princess Di. It was some 4 or 5 years ago at the BDA in Brighton, at the Congress there. And Princess Di went along for a visit, and she went into the hall. But before doing that, she went down to the exhibition area where there were lots of different deaf groups with their various exhibitions. And she saw the Meningitis Trust stall. Now, she's actually patron of the Meningitis Trust, so she went straight along to the exhibition. Of course, my wife Carol was working there. She was working there on a voluntary basis for a week with a friend. Princess Di made a beeline across to the exhibition stand. And she was chatting with the hearing person that she was with. And then she said to my wife, oh, hello, chatting away. And on the next stand to the meningitis one was a TV monitor. And she was saying to my wife, I was actually on the TV monitor. And she turned around and said to my wife, oh, I really want to meet that man. I said, hey, do you mind? She said, that's my husband. That's true. Now, the other story is about Paul McCartney. Now, you know, he's an ex-member of the Beatles. Now, I'd finished working here in one of the studios one day. I took all my makeup off. I went upstairs to the bar. I wanted a glass of lemonade, of course. And, well, it's true. Anyway, I went along upstairs, walking along the corridor towards the lift to go into the bar. And I was right near the lift, and there were a group of people there, and I looked over and thought, oh, Paul McCartney there. Ding! I can actually say I've seen him. So anyway, Paul McCartney actually turned round, looked at me, and he waved to me. And I went, oh. And I looked and I thought, got in the lift. He must have mistaken me for somebody else. Anyway, I went into the bar, and I was telling you about that. And I've seen Paul McCartney, he's great. Then a bit later on, Paul McCartney with his wife Linda were coming up, and I'd said to these other people in our crowd, that's Paul McCartney, look, see? And he came straight up to me, and I thought, aye. And he said, I know you. You're the man on the telly, aren't you, that does all the signing? And I said, yeah, right. You're, sorry? Who? So it was a bit of a joke. I mean, that's how they identify me. It was nice, really.
That's a great story. Must have made you proud. Perhaps Paul McCartney was so proud that he actually finally met you, another famous person. Why not?
Well.
I know you've been working on See Here for the past 12 years, and you'll be leaving See Here. What will be happening?
Why am I leaving? Well, See Here has changed. When I first started, it's made some enormous changes since those days, and of course it's developed along the way. And it's going through another process of change now. And I've been here a long time, an awful long time, and I think now is the right time to come out, really. We're not doing studios every week now, it's all going to be on location work, so that's different. And I'm getting middle-aged, I'm getting a bit of a paunch, and I think perhaps it's time for a younger man. People used to look and say, oh, wow, isn't John Lee attractive? Look at him. But now with his paunch and everything, nah, it's not the same. I think now's the right time for me to come out.
Right, can I ask a question to the audience? Would you agree that because John's got a paunch, he should leave? Do you agree? And John, I remember as a young boy, 12, 13, 14, I went to Edinburgh Deaf Club into the church. Cocky young lad I was then. And I saw you there in your missioner's cassock, and you were talking about John Knox. And I started to feel this power emanate from you as you were signing. I remember that very clearly. What was it like working as a missioner?
Power? Me? I'm amazed. I didn't know I had it. I really hadn't realised that. I mean, I wish I had the power, to be honest. No idea.
So, John, could you talk a bit about your childhood, about your parents, where you come from, just a little bit?
Okay. I was born in Lancashire, in St Helens. Both my parents were deaf, profoundly deaf, BSL users. And of course I started going to the deaf club when I was in a pram, still sucking my thumb. And as soon as I could walk, I was always walking in there to the deaf club, Wednesdays, Saturdays, Sundays, 3 times every week went to the deaf club, which obviously meant that I met umpteen deaf people and grew up with them basically at signing. So obviously I'm totally involved with the deaf community, and I'm quite happy to be in the deaf club environment.
You used to work as a missioner, and now the general feeling about missioners is that they were quite aggressive figures. What's the feeling now? I mean, how do you feel about having worked as a missioner?
Well, it's a lot different from what it is now. I think in some ways it was better, in other ways it was worse. It really depends on the individual and where you were. When I first started, it was almost like being a social worker. There was a lot of sort of casework, and you had to be an interpreter as well if people needed an interpreter. Youth and community worker. I used to run the youth club. I used to go along to organise the various groups in the deaf clubs. Admin office worker. There were umpteen aspects involved in the job, and of course there was the church as well. I mean, I had to stand up and preach in church. That was the first time I had to do that, was when I got into Edinburgh, and I was really scared stiff. There I was in my gown. I said, well, I have to wear this and stand in the pulpit and speak, and there I was, 19, a mere youth, not even a stubble on my chin, a mere youth, absolutely petrified. Everybody in the congregation looked at me, and it went okay. And I had to do that every single week.
John, what's your final message to your old friends out there in the audience?
Oh, wow, I wasn't expecting that question. Many, many deaf people over the past 12 years have said, oh, you're a wonderful signer, you're brilliant on See Here, and your involvement's terrific. And I'd like to thank them for the support and for that. I mean, you know what it's like yourself. You're very isolated at times, and you never actually know what people think of you because you don't have that rapport. You're signing to a camera invariably, but meeting them, they've given me the support in that way, which has been really nice. And they've done that over the years, so I'd just really like to thank them for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Lee, a big hand, please. That's all we've got time for. A big thank you to all my guests, Michael Jack, David Bauer, and John Lee, for joining me today. A really big thank you to them all.